Ranking Member Warren.
So thank you. I actually want to pick up right where Mr. Kelly is about picking winners and losers. We absolutely pick winners and losers right now, because the winners and losers game is if things get rough in the banking industry and it's starting to look scary, get out of the small banks, because the federal government will only step in behind the big banks. And that's not just a tale, that is literally what is happening. And we've watched it happen. Nobody bails out the little guys. They only bail out the giants. And that's not just a problem for banks. That's a problem for how we finance small business in America. Big banks, I get it. They have their role to play. But their role to play is not how to help the local drugstore, is not understanding this local manufacturing business that's trying to get itself started, and you understand the bumps and when the money's going to be there and when the money's not, and you try to work with them and put them on a payment schedule that works. It is these small banks and medium-sized banks that do the handcrafting that kind of work demands. So this policy, excuse me, is not about trying to pick winners and losers. It's about trying to level the playing field again so that depositors understand the bank I work with year after year after year is a place I can safely keep my money even in troubled times. So let me start there. Mr. Harrison and Mr. Rice, you both lead smaller financial institutions. You play important roles in your community. What happened to deposits at small and mid-sized institutions like yours when SVB failed? And does deposit migration affect your ability to be able to lend to the businesses that you want to be able to support? Why don't we start with you, Mr. Harrison, and then I'll come to you, Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Senator Warren. Right after that, there's an intense amount of just uncertainty. We called hundreds and hundreds of our clients. All of my peers did the same thing in the mid-sized banks. We were fortunate. We didn't have a lot of money leave our bank, but honestly, right afterwards, we proactively did some Federal Home Loan Bank draws just to make sure that we had liquidity. Because that liquidity, that certainty of liquidity that's in those operating accounts is what we use to make loans. That's what we use to put back into the communities. And if you're not certain it's going to be there, you have to make sure it's there. So that's much more expensive to go out and get that kind of funding. But we did that. Many of my peers lost significant amounts of deposits in the week after that happened.
So SVB fails and you end up spending a lot of money.
We want to make sure we're safe.
Yeah, I appreciate that you do, but that isn't free. Yep. Mr. Rice.
Thank you, Senator. Thankfully, credit unions were untouched during this crisis. It was seen as a banking crisis, but it's not lost upon us that fear doesn't understand the distinction between banks and credit unions. It's the system. So on this occasion, we were lucky, but much like Mr. Harrison has pointed out, that big banks lend out 50 to 55% of the deposits. Credit unions lend out 90 to 100% of deposits. So $550 billion is taking out of the small bank and credit union system. That's a lot of loans to local communities that are at risk.
So you really have the potential here to contract the economy. One failure over here causes contraction in lending. Rapidly throughout the system. So tell me about the right number. You two lend the money out. Obviously, I think what you're telling us, what your customers are telling us when they flee, is $250,000 is just not a high enough number. That these transaction accounts that involve payroll and all are above it. Can you just give us an idea of what you think is the right insurance number, Mr. Harrison?
Well, I looked at our customer base and talked to some of my peers, and really in the different buckets, there's contractors, small, medium, and large. There's hospitals. There's small manufacturers. We just don't want the customer to have to decide. We think that $20 million number covers the vast majority of our operating accounts, so we're very comfortable with that as a group, as our 100 banks and the mid-sized banks. So that's the number we're comfortable with, but $250,000 just does not seem to be enough.
Mr. Rice, how do you feel about that number?
You heard my testimony, Senator, that Rippling had $545 million in their payroll account.
Yeah.
And $250,000 obviously didn't come anywhere near covering it. We also support at least $20 million, But it should be important. I don't agree with the term small business because to them it's the biggest thing in their life. And to call it small is kind of, it's interesting. It's a little demeaning, to be honest. And small businesses range up to 500 people in employment, and that's from the SBA. That's our own governmental definition. So it can be above 20 million, but we do support 20 million. But we do think you need to look at payrolls and payroll account companies and think of a way to include them in it without necessarily including insurance premiums.
Thank you.
We do tackle it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.